one and two step equations. Now, in this video, we will talk about two kinds of equations. And as the name suggests, the first one would be a one step equation. So, what is a one step equation? Well, you can solve that equation in just one step. So, let's start with an example. Say you have x plus 3 equals 5. Now, if you have to solve means you have to find the value of x. And you might know that the answer should be 2. Now, how do you get that answer? You look at the equation x plus 3. You got to have x by itself, which means you got to get rid of this plus 3. How do you get rid of the plus 3 is you subtract 3 from both sides. Because 3 was added to x. In order to get rid of that, we do the inverse. And you just want to draw a line maybe through that equal sign, so that way you don't mix up the left and the right sides. Now, when you have added minus 3 on both sides, or you subtracted 3 from both sides, notice the left side is just x, because the plus 3 minus 3, they cancel each other out. And that was the goal. 5 minus 3 is 2. So x is equal to 2 is our answer. Now let's look at one other example of one-step equation. Now this time, what I would do if I had a minus. So x minus 2 equals 7. Now, if you see minus, that means you're subtracting 2 from x here in the original equation. To get rid of that, you want to do the inverse of subtraction. So that's going to be addition. So you add 2 on both sides. And again, on the left, it's just x. On the right, it's 7 plus 2, which is 9. Now let's look at this third example where it's not addition or subtraction. You could have multiplication. So say I have 3x is equal to 15. Now I only have one term, 3x, but I still need to get rid of the 3 if I want to solve for x. Now notice, if you don't see any sign in between the 3 and x, they are multiplied together. So how do you get rid of this 3? You got to do the inverse of multiplication, which is division. So this time you divide both sides by 3. And what you would have on the left is just x by itself, because the 3's cancel each other out. On the right, it's 15 divided by 3, which is 5. So just one step. Now let's look at one more example. Say I have x divided by 2 equals 5. So how do I get rid of the 2? Now the 2 is being divided, which means in order to get rid of that, I need to multiply both sides by 2, because the inverse of division is multiplication. And you can see, if you multiply both sides by 2, this is what's going to happen. This 2 is in the numerator and this 2 is in the denominator. They cancel each other out, leaving you with just x. On the right, it's 2 times 5, which is 10. Now, let's look at one more example. This time, I'm going to introduce a negative number. And I have seen students make this mistake. Negative 2x is equal to, say, 12. Now, the moment uh, some students see negative 2, they think of adding a 2. But really, what is negative 2 doing to x? You're multiplying negative 2 times x. So you got to do the division. Now, what do you divide both sides by? Remember, you got to get rid of the negative 2. So if you want to get rid of the negative 2, you want to divide both sides by negative 2. Not 2, but negative 2. And let's draw a line through the equal signs to keep our left and right sides. Notice negative 2 over negative 2. They cancel each other out. Now you have x by itself. And 12 divided by negative 2. Positive divided by negative is going to be negative. And 12 divided by 2 is 6. So x is equal to negative 6. Now these 5 examples should give you enough idea as to how to work on one-step equations. You have to do the inverse of whatever operation you see in the original equation. Now let's move on to two-step equations. So as the name suggests, two-step equations would involve 2 steps. So let me write down one example. Say 2x plus 5 is equal to 13. So in this equation, there are 2 terms on the left, 2x and 5, separated by the plus sign. And there is one number on the right. Now, anytime you have 2 terms, and if only one of the terms has the variable, you got to get rid of the other term first. So you need to get rid of the plus 5. And just like in one-step equation, we will subtract 5 from both sides to get rid of the plus 5. So when you do that, what do you get? On the left, the plus 5 minus 5 cancel each other out, but the 2x still remains. So you have 2x on the left, and on the right, you will do 13 minus 5, which is 8. Now notice, after one step, we have not solved for x, because we still have to get rid of this 2. And 2x equals 8, we know what to do. The 2 is multiplied to x, so we want to divide both sides by 2. So divide this 2x and this 8. Whatever you do on one side, you got to do the same thing on the other side in order to keep the balance. So finally, we have our answer. X is equal to 8 divided by 2 is 4. Notice it took us 2 steps. So that's why these are called two-step equations. All right, let's look at one more example of a two-step problem. So this time I'm going to have 9 minus 2x is equal to 3. So again, there are 2 terms, 9 and 2x, separated by a negative sign. So just like in the example 6, I said if you have 2 terms and only one term has the variable, you got to get rid of the other term. So here, I got to get rid of the 9. So how do I get rid of 9? Well, I subtract 9 from both sides. Because the 9 is positive 9, you can imagine there's a plus here. So 9 minus 9 is 0. That's how you get rid of the 9. And let's draw the line, write our equal sign on the line. Notice, on the left side, 9 minus 9 is gone, and then you copy the negative 2x. Now, one common mistake again is to avoid that negative 2x. If you see a negative, pay attention to that and you want to copy that. And 3 divided by negative 9 is, 3 minus 9 is negative 6. Yeah, we're not dividing, we're subtracting 9. So after first step, we got this equation, negative 2x is equal to negative 6. And negative 2 is being multiplied with x. So to get rid of that negative 2, we divide both sides by negative 2. And then copy our equal sign. Negative 2 over negative 2. They cancel each other out, leaving you with x alone. And negative over negative is positive, and 6 over 2 is 3. So it's positive 3. I don't need to write the positive sign. I can just write x is equal to 3. If the answer was negative, I would have to write the negative sign. But with positive, I don't have to. Let's do one more example, because two-step equations require twice the amount of work. Let's do one more example where you may have division. So say x over negative 3 plus 2 equal to negative 5. All right, again, this time we have two terms, x over negative 3 and 2, separated by a plus sign. So as before, we want to get rid of this plus 2. We want to get rid of the term that does not have x in it. So how do you get rid of that? You subtract 2 from both sides. Go ahead and do that. Now, draw a line through your equal sign so you don't mix the left and the right sides. On the left side, you're now left with just x over negative 3. The plus 2 minus 2 cancel each other out. Negative 5 minus 2 is negative 7. Now, what do I have to do? This time, let me copy that equation. Now, I have to get rid of the negative 3 in the denominator. So, I'm dividing x by negative 3. To get rid of that, we multiply both sides by negative 3. So, multiplying means this will belong to the numerator. Now notice the negative 3's cancel each other out, and now you are left with just x by itself. And first of all, negative times negative is positive. 3 times 7 is 21. So that's our answer. Now, the best way to learn maths is to do a lot of practice. And here I have a few practice problems. The first 3 problems involve one step, and the last 3 involve 2 steps. The answers to the questions are in the description of the video below. All right, good luck, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.